Hello! Welcome to the stream. The inside of my nose feels a bit weird, but other than that, I'm feeling great. How are we doing today, everyone else? Today we are talking about Bruno Guimaraes predominantly, because, well, he seems to be the man on City's list at the moment in terms of signings to make in January, and just on a whole, that seems to be the player we are keeping our eye on. Just gonna find just gonna search him up on Twitter, see if I can find the tweet about it. It's probably not the exact one, but it's not too bad. Who have we got in chat? You're so mid to take HFC Vlog. So welcome to the chat, mate. I hope you're doing well. But anyways, today we're talking about Bruno Guimaraes and his potential coming to City. It's, in terms of my personal opinion, I'm not really sure how high in terms of likeliness this is, but if we could do it, it could be absolutely huge to our season, really. It would be just huge to potentially save the season. One player, I don't know if one player is enough to save this ship. A ship with more than one hull. But yeah, this is it at the moment. Bruno Guimaraes could be subject of a January bid from City. Pep is personally driving the club's interest in the Brazilian. Doesn't come as a surprise, we spoke about it not long ago. Pep, we spoke about it a bit over the summer. We've spoken about it a few times over time. It comes to no shock that Pep is a fan of Bruno Guimaraes. LB, we all know him. He had this to say, apparently. Sam Lee has been told that Newcastle are open to selling him for about £66 million. And in his personal opinion, Bruno G could save the season, potentially, and potentially gives a chance at the UCL. But yeah, that again, this is just a matter of opinion, so that doesn't really matter much. But Sam Lee, who is a decently reliable journalist, £66 million, it's not too bad for a player like Bruno G. He's a very good player. He's got a bit of time in his contract. He did have a release clause in the summer for what was the amount? I believe his summer release clause was 100 million. But, I was saying we should go in for that, but we just didn't. So to see that Bruno G and Newcastle, and that Newcastle willing to part ways with Bruno G for a fee of 66 million, comes as a bit of a shock, It does surprise me a bit. I'd be lying if I wasn't. But nonetheless, he's a brilliant midfielder. The bottom line is, whoever comes in, hi, how are you? I'm good, thank you. Talking about Bruno G, and how we basically need to sign him, mainly because, for me, if there's one man in the football club who knows what he thinks he needs, it's Pep. This season, look, in the Premier League, we've already had more losses than we did all season. And we're not even halfway through. We've picked up a few draws as well. In the Premier League, we are not doing very good. And Rodri's injury is not helping that, obviously. I don't know if Rodri's in this team. The season is completely fixed. We are unbeaten. We've won every game. Okay, I don't know if that's the case, but what is definitely for sure that we need something in that midfield. And look, to fill Rodri's shoes is not going to be a small fee. 66 million, okay, is probably roughly what you're going to need, at least, Zubimendi, even if we go for him, he's not going to be cheap. He's still going to be about 60 million. Look, for me, Pep obviously thinks that Bruno G is the guy. Honestly, Tiki, it's your last window with us. I'd just do it, man. I'd go for it. Seriously, go out one last hurrah. Bring in one more big name. Derby week. Please just win the derby. Let's have a look at this. Quite a big one here. I see Pep. Oh, I see Pep saying in his press conference the other day that if he gets his players back before Jan 1st, he's happy with the squad. You'd think he's had learned his lesson. The thing is, the thing is with that, Rodri's not going to be back. Bob isn't going to be back. I know Bob, obviously we could really do with Bob's output and, well, his potential output. But look, Rodri's not going to be back. We'll be lucky to have him for the Club World Cup, you know? Like that, it doesn't matter how many players you get back. There's no... Look, Rodri's hole is too big for any of the players in this squad to fill because he's so key. He's won the Ballon d'Or. Last season, he was quite literally the best player in the world. A fact. What if Kova, Stones, Ake are all back? All are back Jan 30th, but then by Feb 2nd, they're injured. Very likely to happen. Enzo is very, very good. Not a coincidence, in my opinion. He was at City. We won the treble. Yeah, he was assistant coach, wasn't he? Then, yeah. Thing is with this, and it's like it's completely valid. Just look back to even last season. De Bruyne picked up an injury right before the end of the winter, at the beginning of August, and then City kind of went on a panic mission to go buy a midfield replacement. Right, that's quite literally what we went and did. Just imagine if De Bruyne picked up that injury after that. What would the board have been doing then? You know, would Dave really just been like, oh, it's okay, De Bruyne's going to be back in January. We don't need to sign anyone. We don't need to sign anyone just in case he gets injured again. No, you've got to learn from your mistakes. Even if you are signing a top-class player, you need to sign. You need to sign someone good enough. You know, no, that's not me having a dig at Nunez or anything. But you need to sign someone just in case of the injury. That's why we have a squad of more than 11 players. It's in case of injuries. Okay, if we had a squad that could stay fit and could play 90 minutes every single game, 3 days a week, it wouldn't be an issue. Okay, I'm sure glad have 11 players that you can go from. Okay, but that's literally not possible. That's why you have options. Our squad is small enough as it is when we have our full roster. We just need the extra bodies. You don't have a backup striker. You know, you don't have your Rodri, and you haven't got a player that can do anything like him. Simple. Want to remain at the top? Stop signing potential mediocre players. We need ready-made, great world-class players. I think that is actually the nail on the head. Like, it's good and all signing, young players who have potential to be good. Those are your Dokus. Those are your Savinhos. Those are your Claudio Echeverris. Those are, well, for all intents and purposes, your Julian Alvarez's. And all the other names you can think of. Okay? And I don't mind signing them. But for me, you've got to still get a bit of a mix. You've still got to get a mix. Okay? Look, I'd love a backup striker in January along with this midfielder. I think the midfielder is slightly more important. But look, we need to spend big in January, just like we did. I believe Laporte was a January signing. I'm just going to double check that. But like I've said, just like we did Aymeric Laporte, we need Jan 30th we signed Aymeric Laporte. We need to sign, and we need a big signing. Go out and did what you did, like you did with Aymeric Laporte. Don't do Perrone, don't do an Alvarez, don't do an Echeverri, don't do any of that. Just go and get that big player, that player that's gonna, almost like Chelsea when they signed like big players in that one summer. Okay, and like, well, no, in that one January when they spent like 100 mil on Mudryk. Now, Mudryk wasn't necessarily a big player, but it's because they spent the cash. Enzo as well. They spent tons of cash trying to bring this guy in. You know, they literally did that. We'll go over transfer market now. Bruno should do if we want to have a look at Bruno G stats. Now then, you've seen it all before in terms of this. In fact, I believe we went and looked at this not long ago. I believe on the rebuild thing. But I said that for summer 2025 rebuild. We need this guy. We need someone of at least this guy's caliber to join in January. Like, seriously, we seriously do. Because it's... I don't know how long this season can be salvageable. What have we got here? Last 2 years, too many potential mediocre, inconsistent, no output players. I don't get why City fans are gassing up. Echeverri, come on. I doubt anyone has actually watched him. He may be good, but let's not put the season on him. Yeah, exactly. Look, be excited that you're signing a new young player. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure. I like signing young players just as much as the next guy. You know, I love seeing youth being brought into the club. But number one, Echeverri, whether he leaves in January, which he won't, but let's just say that that's still up in the air. Whether he leaves in January or he stays with City, he's not going to be the guy that saves the season. You know, he's an attacking midfielder, to my knowledge. He's not going to be the guy that takes these games by the scruff of the neck. The most he will have is probably a bit of an Oscar Bob moment, like he did against Newcastle. That's the most I could see coming out of Echeverri, and that's all I really want from a 18-year-old lad. He's not old, you know. We spent 25 million on him, which is a decent investment, similar price to Kovacic and Savinho. You know, that's not necessarily cheap for a youngster. We spent money on him. Let's not be like, hey, it's on you now. You know, like, come on. Walker went on a huge blocking spree, blocked loads and loads of accounts on Saturday night. I survived, but maybe not after Wednesday. Haha. Oh, please don't start on Wednesday. I actually saw a thread. I saw a thread of Kyle Walker errors, and it just made me. It actually had my head in my hands. It was awful to watch. I can't lie, I was jealous watching Chelsea yesterday. So good, fast, young players, incredible. It's not like Alvarez. Alvarez signing in 6 goals a game. The month he came. Before he came to City. I know Alvarez was clearly a top talent. But I think you get what I mean. Absolutely insane. Prices for Boxing Day. Cheapest ticket £48. Average between 73 and 88. It's just mental. And do you know what the funny thing is? It's only going to go up. It'll be more next year. It'll be more. You know what? I'm actually going to whoscored.com. It's pretty good for statistics on players. Who scored? Bruno Guimaraes. There we go. So share this tab instead. Here we are. So I believe this is going off this season. I'm not sure how to change it to last season where we can have a look at a full thing. But So defensive tackles in the don't make
Here.
America. 2.2 tackles. I'm gonna guess this is a per game average, by the way. So 15 matches, 1,336 minutes. He's obviously been starting the games for Newcastle. 2.2 tackles, and about 1 interception per games, 1.6 fouls per games, and not offside a lot, probably once judging off that. Clearances, he gets about 1, dribbles about 1, and blocks about 0.3. Now then, to my knowledge, Newcastle do play a lot deeper, so they're not exactly going to be astonishing numbers in terms of these statistics, but when he joins City, he's going to be pushing a lot more forward, and all you have to do is look at his stats from last season, 70 goal contributions for Newcastle, and you'll see that he has got attacking capabilities. He's got 3 assists this season, to be fair to him, which was more for some of our midfielders can say. So look, I think Bruno G is clearly someone to have an eye on. There's been no doubt about that. He hit the ground running at Newcastle, to say the least. He's been really, really good. And I think we need to give Pep the resources that he wants. If Pep says, look, this is the guy that's going to help me save this season, I can't do it with the squad I currently have. If that is what Pep thinks, then we have to absolutely get it done, because he's the guy that knows what's what the best. He's the coach. He's the guy that's won you 6 Premier Leagues in the last 7 years. Did you see that CFA leader or whatsoever say 99% of fans are outside of Manchester, so locals don't really basically matter. 97% of fans are not outside of Manchester, you clown. You were technically Manchester because your dad was at Main Road. CFA girl means like foreign fans who have no link to Manchester. Guimaraes' second best stats for a DM in the world, but only behind Rodri. Exactly. Bruno G has huge passion, shush says Glimpse. He'll put in a damn shift and finally someone clinical. Yeah, Bruno G, he has an output. It's not Rodri's output, but look, anyone that's wanting, anyone we sign is not going to produce Rodri's level of output, because Rodri is the best player in the world. But if you want, Rodri was the best player in the world last season until he picked up his ACL, sadly. But Rodri, for the period he was playing, was the best player in the world. You can't replace that level of play. But with Bruno Guimaraes, you're not going to get much closer, I think. You're not going to get much closer to bringing in the right guy, And I think Bruno Guimaraes would be up for the move, to be honest. We could still be in UCL by then. I think we're gonna make it to those like playoff things, and so if we make it to those, then Bruno G is going to be there for that. And and I think you'll be up for that. Are Newcastle even in Europe? So I think Bruno G would absolutely be down for the move. And if what LB is saying over here, if I just bring you back to this. If what LB is saying here, 80 million euros, 66 million, if this is true, then honestly, your eyes should be lining up the money signals, City. Actually, it's like hitting a jackpot. I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot of money. And for a top-class player who, when Rodri comes back, who knows how they're going to get both of them in the team, I mean, I think it's very easy. You just do double pivot and you allow them both to go forward whilst also covering each other. Almost letting Bruno G fulfill that Kovacic role Kovacic played at the end of last season, but Bruno G does it to a higher, more energetic level. I think if you do that, then you've got a real asset on your hands. I think it's all just ticking boxes. I don't see unless he's got any bad backroom issues, issues that we aren't aware of to the public eye, which City will obviously do put their checks into, because that's what we do. He's not clinical, I assume, but physical. Remember the Etihad Fortress days? Now we get battered 4-0 by a team who's won like 1 in 8. Yeah. If it's 66 million, that should be done on Jan 1st. I know. Did you see Eddie Howe saying we now lose we might lose players in January, hopefully not crucial players, but I can't guarantee it. Look, it doesn't surprise me. They've got some very good players in there. Newcastle, Bruno G, Isaac, Tonali, Botman. Those are just off the top of my head. They got some good players in there, and Gordon is doing pretty good for them. So there is good talent in there, and I can't help but think eventually those guys are going to want to move on from Bruno G. Bruno G is 27 now, 28 next year. This is kind of like the height of his career. This is where you hit your absolute peak. Okay? And in terms of talent, if you join City, you can go a bit higher. Okay? But ultimately, it is kind of a downwards journey. I'm saying that very lightly because he's 27, he's still got 28 ahead of him, he's still got 29, he's still got 30. Those are 3 big years. Okay, but he's not going to get much better is what I'm saying. He's going to want to live his best years as a footballer at a club that wins trophies on the regular. I know City are not in the best of places at the moment, but we've won trophies for the last 7 years. We've won at least one trophy every single year since Pep's second season. We've won a ton of trophies, and he's going to want a bit of that cake. Newcastle, even if he loves the club, they've had a bite at silver, a bite at an attempt of it. Got to Carabao Cup final, lost, got knocked out of the UCL group. I imagine he would have loved those UCL games, and I think he wants more of them. But how are Newcastle doing this season? Let's have a look at the Premier League table. Premier League table. You're 12th. You haven't won in your last 4. Similar to City's form. But still, it's not the greatest. It's not the greatest form for Newcastle. And I don't think Bruno Guimaraes is going to want to spend his season at a club that is 12th in the league and is going to be in a battle for Conference League and possibly Europa League, depending on how the remainder of their season goes. I think you'd much rather be in a club that is at least fighting for top 4 and is already in the UCL and is still in the FA Cup. Well, Newcastle are, but you get what I'm saying. I saw a City account titled Pep out, Tiki out, Khaldoon out, local mob out, Mansfield out. Only one I could agree with Tiki because he's ruined the whole squad. Yeah, Tiki's work hasn't been great in the best as of late. He's an absolute legend and we aren't where we are without him, but over the last 1-2 years, it hasn't been the high standards he has set. Tiki, and look, I'm not dissing him, because the amount of respect every City fan should have for Tiki is insane. The guy's been at the club for I don't even know how long, too long to remember. He's been here so long and has given so much to the club, and he's stepping down at the end of the season, and hopefully Hugo Viana's era can replicate or make it better. Loving your content at the moment, says This Is City, big up. Jackson was dragging Enzo's shirt, telling him not to take it off because he would have gotten a yellow. Yeah, I was surprised he was trying to do that so early. Shirt taking off is like something to be done at the very end of the game, because imagine like Tottenham went and scored like a like a equaliser straight after that. Obviously they didn't, but just imagine. Man City out, counting out is wild. I know, that is insane. That is mental. That is genuinely mental. Three games until Christmas. Juventus United Villa. Please win at least once. What a Christmas present it would be to win all three. Eh? I pray not. I genuinely pray not. But look, to put my final words on it, it's for me. If I'm in that room, and I wish I could be, but if I'm on that boardroom and I've got a voice in there, I'm saying all guns for Bruno Guimaraes. You've got to put everything into that. Start working on it now. Start working on it a week ago. It needs to be done. The sooner it's done, the better, because, look, I think Newcastle want to reinvest that money, bring in someone else in January to replace Bruno G. And the later you leave it, the harder it becomes for them to sign someone, which means it becomes less likely that they let him go, because it becomes more difficult for anyone to come in. But that's my view on it, and I think, I don't speak for anyone, but I think most City fans will agree that that it needs to happen. It needs to happen. But anyway, after a couple of months of what you're doing, do what you prefer that way. Oh, greens. Oh, wait, after a couple of months of what you're doing, do you prefer doing it that way or the green screen days? So do I prefer doing it in here or the green screen days? I think I, on a whole, prefer it in here. Green screen days were good, but the rain. I know, like you liked it, I'm pretty sure, but the rain wasn't exactly appealing for me. I get a bit more privacy in here, and it's much more soundproof. The dogs, they barely bark now. And when they do bark, you guys can barely hear them, even if you can. But so I would say I prefer it in here. I think it's a much smoother experience. But anyway, thank you all for tuning in. It's been an absolute pleasure to go live once again. We're back tomorrow, but we're not just back tomorrow. We're back in 15 minutes doing Connect Gaming, big stream, cup final. Be there or be square. Big ups to everyone tuning in, and I'll absolutely see you all in the next one. Thank you so much.